Dear all, you are welcome to SSB Pharma Learning Channel. Today, I, Dr. Shamsher Singh, going to discuss with you about the new tricks for the GPAT, included all the subjects of the pharmaceutical sciences, as well as basic explanation about how to appear and how to clear this GPAT examination. So today, the first trick of this GPAT question series, part 25, is first line anti-tubercular drugs. How you can remember these all drugs? You can just remember this word, eye repair software. So by this way you can remember all the drugs of the first line anti-TB drugs. So I will just tell you one of the basic thing, that the first line indicate high efficacy and low toxicity. So basically these first line drugs, they are more efficacious as compared to the second line drugs, and these drugs having a low toxicity, liver toxicity and other organ toxicity as compared to the second line drugs of the anti-TB agents. So I repair software, I indicate isoniazid, R indicate rifampicin, E indicate ethambutol, P indicate pyrazinamide, and software S indicate streptomycin. So these are the drugs which are called as a first line drug for the anti-TB, for the treatment of the patient who suffer from Mycobacterium tuberculosis. So the next question for the GPAT series is, metoprolol is a cardioselective beta blocker. Relatively selectively block beta 1 receptor. So the options are with membrane stabilizing effect and with partial agonist effect. Second option is without membrane stabilizing effect and with partial agonist effect. Third is without membrane stabilizing effect and without partial agonist effect. And fourth one is with membrane stabilizing effect and partial agonistic effect and direct vasodilator activity. So you can choose the right option for this metoprolol, which is a cardioselective. The right option for this is without membrane stabilizing effect, without partial agonistic effect. So you know that this drug, which is called as a beta 1 blocker. So first thing you can remember, this is a adrenergic drug, and beta 1 receptor which are present on the aorta and SA node. The next thing is beta 1 receptor act by CAMP pathway of GPCR. Now metoprolol is a cardioselective competitive inhibitor, beta 1 receptor blocker. So how it improve? This reduce the heart rate, improve the cardiac output, decrease the workload on the heart, and mild vasodilator property. So they can ask you question in a many ways, that what are metoprolol. The first thing, metoprolol is a cardioselective. It mean indicate whenever the patient suffer from hypertension along with cardiac problems. So in that case, congestive heart failure or angina, in this case, you know that it reduce the heart rate, it improve the cardiac output, it reduce the workload, and it it is a mild vasodilator. So that's why this metoprolol is preferred as a cardioselective drug. So other than this, metoprolol is a carvedilol. So carvedilol is more preferred due to its more efficacious nature. So that's why this is the another drug for the beta 1 blocker agent. Phenylephrine is useful as, the options are Mydriatic to facilitate examination of retina. Decongestant for minor allergic hyperemia of conjunctival membrane. A drug in localizing the lesions in Horner syndrome, and all of the above. You choose where the phenylephrine is useful here in this case. You can comment in the box. The right answer for this question is all of the above. So phenylephrine, you know, it acts as a mydriatic. Mydriatic mean it cause dilation of the pupil. So it means it dilate the pupil, act on the circulatory muscles of the eye, and also partially on the radial. Now the second thing, it acts as a decongestant because it relaxes the muscles of this area. It is a drug localizing the lesions in the Horner syndrome. So I will tell you that what is a Horner syndrome. They can ask you question that what is the drug of choice for the Horner syndrome. In case of Horner syndrome, you know that there is a increased blinking of eyes. First thing. The second thing, there is a dropping of eyelid. So one of the eyelid of the patient will drop automatically. One eye will be open, one will be little bit partially closed. So this is called as a Horner syndrome. So this is related to the dopaminergic activity. In case of Parkinson, the patient also suffer from this Horner syndrome. So you can remember phenylephrine is a useful drug for this. Now this is the another new trick. Second line anti-TB drugs are, the new trick is face pack turmeric. So that means always people prefer to use a face pack for the face wash which is containing turmeric. So from this you can remember F indicate fluoroquinolones, A indicate amikacin, C indicate cycloserine, E indicate ethonamide, P is a para amino salicylic acid, C is a capreomycin, K is a kanamycin, and T turmeric is a thiacetazone. So you can remember this new trick, and you are welcome to SSB Pharma Learning channel. So this is the second line drug for the tuberculosis. So best way how to remember these all drugs. The next question is, atropine overdose may cause which of one of the following? The options are gastrointestinal smooth muscle crampings, increased cardiac rate, increased gastric secretions, pupillary constrictions. You remember here which option is right, you choose very fast. The right option for atropine overdose is increase cardiac output. So I will tell you one of the thing, that whenever you will give a, basically we prefer atropine in case of non-specific toxicity. So non-specific indicate whenever any person will take a poison where we are not having any antidote, but the poison increase the salivary secretion, gastric secretion, sweat secretion. In that cases where the symptoms are like this, doctor prefer to give a atropine sulfate solution. So this is available in the form of an injection. But now how atropine increase the cardiac rate, heart rate? Because it is a vagolytic. So vagolytic indicate it reduce the acetylcholine. So by reducing acetylcholine level, it produces sympathomimetic response, increase the level of adrenaline, thereby increase the heart rate. So the next question they can ask you in the GPAT, there are so many questions you can choose from this. The most important can be, what is the antidote for atropine toxicity? So antidote is physostigmine. So physostigmine at a dose of 1 to 4 mg is preferred as an antidote for the atropine in adult, and at a dose of 0.5 to 1 mg it is preferred as an antidote for small children. So you always remember these things, that where atropine overdose is responsible and what are the antidotes for the atropine. Next question is haloperidol is used in Huntington chorea as a antipsychotic agent, antidyskinetic drug, antiemetic agent, none of the above. You choose the right answer for this question. The right answer is, it is a antidyskinetic drug. Now you know there are some questions you can remember in case of Huntington. The first question they can ask you, in which case the level of dopamine is increased. The first thing is Huntington disease, because in Parkinson disease its dopamine level is reduced. This can be a first question. The second question can be, why there is a chorea like movement. This is due to increased dopaminergic activity. So we always prefer haloperidol, which is also preferred as a antiemetic, or also preferred to reduce the muscle movement, thereby it stabilizes the muscle coordination. So this is the mechanism how haloperidol reduce the dopaminergic activity, thereby reduce the muscular over movements, excessive movements, and maintain the muscle coordination. So haloperidol is preferred as an antidyskinetic agent in Huntington disease. Next question is, local anesthetic affect membrane excitability by inhibiting sodium channel inactivation, increase sodium conductance, increase potassium conductance, and all of the above. You choose the right answer for this here. The right answer for this question is sodium channel inactivation. So that means local anesthetic like lidocaine, ropivacaine, bupivacaine, cocaine, mepivacaine, such type of the agent inactivate the sodium channel. So inactivate, and which type? The second question is which type? They inactivate the voltage gated sodium channel. So basically you remember always, the local anesthetic act on the voltage gated sodium channel and inactivate them and reduce the nerve conduction, and by thereby reduce the pain and sensation. In small intestine, morphine partially affects. Morphine reduce gastric emptying, cause wet stool, both A and B, does not affect small intestine. So you choose the person who take morphine or who take opium. What is the effect of afim or opium on this? These all option, which one is the right you choose? The right option is, it decrease gastric emptying. So gastric emptying will be slow. The reason is, it will, you can say, responsible for reducing the gastric motility, the movement of the gastric tract. So that's why, on the another way, if the option here will be morphine cause, then option can be constipation. This is the right answer. Next question is, opioid avoided with following agents. So where the opioid cannot be preferred? Option is diazepam, alcohol, clonazepam, all of the above. So you choose the right answer for this, where we should not prefer the opioid along with these agents. The right answer is all of the above. You know that whenever you take along with diazepam alcohol or clonazepam, it causes CNS and respiratory depression. So the first will be the respiratory depression followed by the CNS depression. So that's why you know that opioid should never be used along with the diazepam alcohol and clonazepam. Next question is, in Parkinsonism, levodopa exert following effect except. The options are improve tremors, improve akinesia, improve muscular power, and improve dystonia. You choose the right answer for this question. The right answer is improve muscle power. So you know that levodopa, which is available in the brand name of Syndopa, which contain levodopa and carbidopa. So here the question can be, how carbidopa act? So carbidopa act by inhibiting decarboxylase enzyme. So decarboxylase enzyme inhibition increase the penetration of dopamine, because another question can be which one is a hydrophilic. So dopamine is a hydrophilic, levodopa is a lipophilic. So it convert more dopamine to levodopa. And another question can be, how much amount of dopamine cross and convert as a levodopa. So because levodopa is a prodrug which is converted into dopamine, you take a levodopa, it is converted into dopamine, and the conversion rate is approximate 2.7% nearly. So this is the amount which is converted into dopamine. And another question can be, which one is a prodrug? Levodopa is a prodrug. Prodrug means inactive drug. So that's why it improves the muscle power. How? Because it regulates the D1 and D2 receptor. So you remember always, D1 is excitatory receptor and D2 is inhibitory receptor. Another question can be, D2 is a indirect pathway of dopaminergic system and D1 is a direct pathway of dopaminergic system. So another question can be, D2 involved through subthalamic nuclei and D1 involved through globulus pallidus interna. So these are the basic questions they can ask you, how levodopa is useful in this case Parkinsonism. So next question is, nitrous oxide provides slow induction. Next option is produce adequate muscle relaxation. Next is by itself is not a potent anesthetic and it is a poor analgesic. You choose the right answer for nitrous oxide. The right answer is, by itself it is not a potent anesthetic. So now what is the thing here? Because this nitrous oxide basically preferred at the initial time for the tooth surgery, or nowadays you know that, not now but in the old time, it was preferred by dentist to reduce the pain while extracting the tooth. And nitrous oxide is itself not a potent anesthetic, but whenever you give it with anesthetic, it increases the efficacy of the anesthetic. How? Because nitrous oxide is a vasodilator. So nitrous oxide, you know that it is a useful drug where the glyceryl trinitrate is converted into nitric oxide and used to treat the angina. So that's why GTN is placed under the tongue and GTN releases nitrous oxide and useful drug for the angina. Here you can remember this thing for the nitrous oxide. Next question is, which one of the following is not a MAO inhibitor? Silazilin, broframine, chlorzelin, and moclobemide. So options are silazilin, broframine, clozulin and moclobemide. You choose the right answer for this, for MAO inhibition, not a MAO inhibitor. So the right answer is selagelin. You know that selagelin is a MAO-B inhibitor which is preferred in case of Parkinson disease in neurological disorder to increase the level of dopamine. And MAO-A inhibitor are these type of the drug where they are preferred in some other neurological cases. And these all three are MAO-A inhibitor. Selagelin is a MAO-B inhibitor. So MAO-A is present more in the CNS and more B is present more in the CNS, A is less and more in the periphery. So you remember always this thing. So this is the another trick. You can remember preferential COX-2 inhibitor. Basically you can remember COX-2 inhibitor. So COX-2 inhibitor are, this is for the COX-2 inhibitor, trick is for, not preferential. COX-2 inhibitors are, remember, Dean Name Engineering College. So all COX-2 inhibitor you can remember here by this name. D indicate diclofenac, N indicate nimesulide, N indicate nambumeton, A indicate aceclofenac, M indicate meloxicam, E indicate etodolac, and these are selective. E indicate etoricoxib and C indicate celecoxib. So you remember the COX-2 inhibitor. So where you know that Dean Name Engineering College. So this was the trick you can remember. Hope this series was very useful for you all, and the coming time I will discuss more basic aspect with all of you. You are welcome. Thank you very much. You always like, subscribe the SSB Pharma Learning channel. Thank you very much.